Sean. I see a number of people have joined. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second webinar of our Wellness and Resilience series, which we've entitled Unlocking the Lockdown Ready for the Restart. My name is Declan McGrath. I'm the Managing Director of Pantheon Talent and Consulting, and you're all very welcome to this webinar. As you may have heard myself and Sean discussing, it's a fantastic day. You're probably looking out the window and seeing a big bright disk in the sky. That is the sun, and we're delighted to have it. And hopefully this is an indicator of the start of better days ahead as we look at unlocking the country, unlocking our personal and work lives, and I suppose getting a little bit more freedom, getting back to it, whatever the new normality will be. And today's webinar and our webinar series is built around that. We're focusing today on the individual. Our first webinar was focusing more on the return to work and some of the challenges and anxieties that people feel when they're going back into the office or even working in a hybrid, remote and office-based environment. So today we'll focus on the individual and how best that they can get to know themselves to help maximize their own potential and also positively impact those around them. So we are delighted and very privileged to be joined by one of Ireland's leading performance and wellness coaches, Sean Connolly. And Sean offers personal and organizational development and performance coaching across business, the arts, sports, academia, and other areas of society, I suppose. I'll let Sean do a little introduction of his own, because as he knows himself best, and he knows himself better than anyone else, and that would be very appropriate given the theme of today's webinar. Just so you know, you're all muted, not that we don't want to hear from you, but just to allow us not to have a lot of background noise on the webinar. But you can use the chat box at the bottom of the screen for any questions, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of this particular webinar, which should last about 45 minutes. So we'd like to have everybody back and done by about 10 to 12, but we're happy to have the Q&A for as long as you guys need it. And if you need to follow up with us afterwards, feel free to reach out to us on the emails that we sent out. Respond to those, or you can have a look on our website, www.pantheontalent.ie, or you can contact myself or any of the guys. Just to give you a little bit of background on who we are, because you may not be familiar with Pantheon Talent and Consulting. We were established in 2020 as a result of a merger and acquisition. Collectively, we have 60 years experience in talent solutions and in business consultancy. We offer bespoke talent solutions across our core specialisms, which are technology, accountancy and finance, engineering and life sciences, and commercial sales and marketing. We would work very much with global businesses, SME, Indigenous Irish companies, in startups, working as partners, and we use that word very clearly in our messages. We are partners, and we're looking to partner with people and with organizations as they go through the growth, and we want to be very much at your shoulder and very much at the table, designing, advising, and building with you. So I suppose our consultancy services, which this webinar is part of, we offer bespoke wellness programs. We also offer leadership coaching, personal and organizational development. We are adding further services throughout this year, so we will be rolling out further additional services, and we will obviously announce that to the marketplace and to yourselves, so that you can avail of some of the more bespoke services that we have. So we also, from the talent perspective, just to give you an idea of our range and our scope, we are a global player. So we have done assignments from North America through the Caribbean, Ireland into EMEA, and beyond that into Asia. So basically we are a global player, very much a boutique. So we very much sit in the cockpit, I suppose, of businesses and assist them with their talent management, because we realize that the biggest asset for any business is your people. So that's a little bit about us. So on to today, and I just want to welcome Sean. Maybe Sean, you could do a brief introduction and maybe a little bit around today's theme of the power of knowing yourself.
Hi, everybody. Well, as you know, my name is Sean Connolly, and I would specialize in performance for individuals. And as you've heard, I've worked with quite a range of elite athletes and businesses, as well as individuals who own businesses. Really, my perception of what I do is I teach individuals, I give them a blueprint and how they can enhance their own performance. I don't teach people special skills to do with their area in life, what they've chosen, the avenue in their business or their own careers. But I give them a blueprint on how they can enhance what they have practiced, because I can't give people the practice. I can't give you the study of the field that you're in. So to me, I like to keep all my work simple, and that's where I get results very quickly. I don't, I can take advanced psychology and simplify it for a child. And I think that's the beauty in the work that I perform, because especially as adults, life becomes so complicated, especially when you move on and you have your own children and that, and maybe you have your own career, you're running your own business. A complicated program will not be carried out because you will associate stress to it. So I call my program Tools for Life and Business, and I have a Tools for Life and Sport as well. Today I want to talk about the foundation of it and why it's important to look at self-knowledge, to build on the self. My own background, I have 30 years in musculoskeletal therapies, working with the physical body, injuries, rehabilitation. I grew up in boxing and martial arts, cross-country running. So I'm well versed in experience with sports. And my work is an accumulation of my own experiences through my own studies in physical and psychological work. I've brought it down and simplified it so it can be applied to any human being out there. So personal development, when we talk about personal development, it means just that, to develop the self. It's a personal thing. The media is bombarded with personal development programs and secrets to success and secrets to wealth. And it can be a wee bit overwhelming if you're not trained in the field. If you're new into it, we usually buy into the best marketed work. So the specialists at the marketing and the branding will probably sell the most programs, which is understandable. Personal development is something that should be carried out throughout life. When we're younger, we were speaking about this earlier, we pick up so many skills in our life, but we're always being, we're accountable to other individuals, and we're very creative and we're very curious. As we get older, these people we were accountable to, who set us goals and supported us as well as mentored us, they tend to move away, and then we're left on our own as adults to carry on the journey. A lot of adults, they're not accountable to anybody else, especially if they're in a high position in a workplace or in their own career. They don't answer to anybody, and they tend to fall into negative habits. So they tend to become confused and doubt their own ability in many cases. Now, I would say 80 to 90% of people's problems in life start with them not understanding themselves. So if you're asked to perform any skill in life, or you have a challenge, or maybe you have some goals, some aspirations, personal ones or for the business or your sporting career, the first thing that you have to experience when you think about it is a feeling. Now that feeling has to be a feeling that communicates to your brain that you're capable. I'm capable of doing this. And then you'll move towards it very naturally. If the feeling is self-doubt, then you will procrastinate, or your mind will look for excuses not to do it, or you will do it badly. So self-doubt has to be replaced. If it's not, then the body develops symptoms of stress and anxiety, because that's all stress is. If I ask you to perform any task, or life is asking you to overcome some sort of obstacle, and all you're experiencing is stress and anxiety, that's your autonomic nervous system telling your brain that you cannot deal with it. I am not capable. I can't deal with this. That's the initial stress. If that can't be changed, if you're incapable of changing that, the stress that comes and goes will tend to stay longer. And then it puts the body in a hypertonic stage. So you're stressed all the time. And this is what we call anxiety. So when the body's holding itself in a hypertonic stage, this can only go on for so long. And then the body starts to burn out. It starts to get exhausted. A lot of people will try different methods, usually externally, to keep the energy up. And in some cases, they just speaking personally of people I've worked with in the past, they can flatline or have mental breakdowns in extreme cases. So if this all starts with the inability to deal with something, with self-doubt, the self-doubt will lead to the stress, the anxiety, and then burnout. If you rewind it back to the feeling of self-doubt, I don't know if I can deal with this. If you're able to replace that with, I can deal with this. Now, not just verbally saying that, but the feeling, you can generate the feeling of, I am capable. I can deal with this. I can deal with anything. Then there's no stress, and there's no anxiety, and there's no burnout, or there's no underperformance, because all underperformance with every human being on the planet comes from an internal system. So because what you feel will generate internal dialogue in your mind, because we're always communicating with ourselves, and that first stage of communication is a feeling. So that will also build images, because when we have to move forward with images, that's how we get through life. That's how you get through your day. For you to leave your home or your office and go somewhere, whether it's the shops, when you're driving there, you have to have images of streets, of buildings, and an image of the end result. This is generated with feelings also. So if you put me in a situation, or any of us in a situation where we experience a feeling of fear, it will build images of things going wrong. Maybe we'll lose acceptance from people around us in our community, or our close friends. It might build images of us losing control, or it might even build images of us not being safe, because these are three vital wants that we have as humans, three lacks that generate most of our emotions: wanting control, safety, and acceptance. And if you look at all human behavior, they'll come from wanting these. And people will do extreme things in extreme cases to actually gain those feelings. But the main word here, the main phrase, feelings, there are feelings. So we should understand that we can generate these without anything or anybody externally. But again, that's going into a deeper program. So the way to build self-knowledge is the same way that you build knowledge on anything. If you're taking me into a skill I know nothing about, and you want me to be really good at it, I must study it. You must have a process. It can be as simple as a process. Let's take an example: McDonald's or Subway. You go in, they get, it's one of the biggest franchises in the world, run by teenagers, but because they have a process, and they take them in and they show them the process, and they practice the process, and they get the end result. Self-knowledge, which translates as self-esteem, self-belief, is no different. There's a process to do this. It's a very important process, and everybody should know it, because when you know it, if you have children, you will pass it on to them as well. So, because we can't be there for them all the time. If you have staff and you're teaching it to them, they will also have the process. So they won't get into the blame game. They won't be coming up with excuses. They won't be underperforming, because they will realize their performance is in their hands. If you have a bad performance, you felt bad. If you've had a good performance, you felt good. If you've had a brilliant performance, you felt brilliant. Yeah, so it's that simple. So these process, again, there's many people teaching many processes, but they're all the same thing. They're worded differently. They might be done with somebody's personality behind it, but really, for you to go from A to B, there's only one direction that you can go. Now, it might not be in a straight line. Like anything in life, you're going to fall, you're going to get up again, you might go in circles. But if your intention and your emotion is wrapped around the end result, knowing the benefits of it, then eventually you will get there. You won't take your eye off the end result. So it's really start your day by finishing it. What have you planned for the day, for yourself, for the business, for your family, for the career? Start with the end in mind, and you'll get there. It's like when you're heading off on a journey in your car, same thing. You know where you're going. So knowing where you're going in personal development, where am I now? What are the habits that I need to replace? What are the habits or the emotions that are holding me back from living my full potential and being the best I can be? So you need that starting position. It's the same if I'm with athletes. I want to know their maximum weight they can lift, how fast they can sprint. I want to see them performing their own specific skills. So we have a starting point, and then it's all measured again at the end of the day. If they haven't improved, I haven't done my work. That's my fault. My job is to get them to improve. I can't give them the skill. I can show them the strategies to enhance their own skills. Personal performance is the same. So it's starting with that decision as well. So where am I now? Where are you now? Where would you like to be in yourself? What type of person would you like to be in 6 months? What type of person would you like to be in a year, in 2 years? What type of brother, sister, parent? What type of person, what type of athlete would you like to be? Maybe you've joined, I don't know you all, maybe you've joined a fitness suite and you want to do a transformation. It's the same thing. There's a process, but you have the end in mind. So how long would you practice a personal development program for? Some people say 6 weeks. Some people say, 12 weeks. Some people say 6 months or a year. I say your whole life, even when you know this stuff. And any of the top experts will tell you that you have to work on yourself consistently. The mind is, and you hear that analogy, the mind is like a garden. You have to keep weeding it out. I can weed my garden once every 6 months, but the weeds will come up and they'll cover everything. We are responsible for us. That's a fact. So I'm responsible for me. I have to be accountable to look after me and to develop myself and to work daily, weekly, monthly on replacing old negative patterns or habits that's holding me back or suppressing my potential or even affecting my health in different ways. So that's really the starting point, is taking the responsibility for yourself and being accountable to someone else. The group work always is to me, it's always been better than the individual work. Meeting in a group of like-minded individuals, talking about your gains, talking about where you're stuck. And this is the same in the business world. This is why business groups work so well. It's just everybody's accountable. And then you've more minds looking at if there is a problem that comes up. Maybe some of the people in the group have experienced it themselves. And that also gives you the feedback that, do you know what? Hey, I'm not the only person that's suffered this. Other people are thinking like this. Other people are procrastinating, or maybe they're using the wrong strategies. So that's personal development to me. Who are you? Because if you're going towards a goal, are you capable? You can do it. That's the first thing that you have to feel. Yes, I believe I'm capable. A lot of people only set goals with a feel, I'm capable. That's your comfort zone. But there's no real growth in your comfort zone. You have to step outside it, a little bit at a time, mouse steps outside your comfort zone. Once you're confident and you believe that you can do it, you can reach your goal, then the second stage is, why bother? Why put all the effort in? I think I'll just go back to my comfort zone. So where does human motivation come from? After that, then you look at strategies. Okay, I'm confident I can do this. I know I'm capable. I know why I want to do it. So what's the best strategy to use? So you look at your own strategies that you've already succeeded with, that you maybe were taught by your parents and your environment that you grew up in, and your own experiences through your own work, your own college, etc. And then you look at maybe what other people are doing who have reached that end result. What have they done? How do these people think? What are their strategies? What were their pitfalls? So once you get your strategies, then you look at obstacles. You must know where the holes are, where the pitfalls will be. What do humans do to sabotage their results? The blame game, excuses, forgetting why you're doing it, forgetting who you are, letting self-doubt creep back in again. Your perceptions on what's going on. So there's these barriers, but once you know they're there, you can start to replace them. There's a solution for every human problem. And then the last part would be putting everything you've done and practicing it, putting it into what people call the subconscious, a sub-level, the deeper mind, the 88% mind, so that it becomes part of your emotions and your everyday habit. So you're moving in that new direction and you're starting to transform who you are. We can't change who we are. That's a fact. But you can influence who you are and make it a bit better and keep it maintained rather than letting it deteriorate. And we see this, we see it many cases in many fields in life where people do deteriorate, and some deteriorate very quickly. And it's like your car, you know, if you're not maintaining it, your home, you're not maintaining it, it's the same thing. It begins to deteriorate slowly. So to me, that's personal development in a teacup. If somebody says there's more to it than that, then I would ask them where. You can go into each section of this in great detail. But if you look at any development program, they're all the same. Where am I going? Am I confident I can get there? Why do I want to go there? What's my best strategy for getting there? What will prevent me from getting there? And how can I be consistent? How can I keep this in a flow, bringing it into a deeper level? And that's it, really.
Very good, Sean. That was very, very interesting. And I suppose, you know, the question that, you know, with people having had gone through the year that we've gone through, I suppose, you know, it's funny, I spoke to somebody last week, and one of the things that came across in the conversation I had with them was their self-doubt. They had found themselves outside their, as you talked about, outside their comfort zone of work. And they were due to start a new job the following week, and they had some reservation. And that was probably for the first time that they needed some reference points, or they had lost some reference points, or they just needed to recalibrate. And I suppose one of the things that we put down is you talked about processes, and you talked about, replacing the processes and maybe paring things back, and understanding that's quite interesting. One of the areas that we looked at, and one of the areas that we have down for discussion, and I'm interested in it, is avoiding self-sabotage. Sean, that's something that I'm curious probably to understand what is self-sabotage, and how can we recognize it in ourselves, and then how can we avoid it? Could you just maybe do a little bit on that, if you don't mind?
Self-sabotage is coming from what we call a sub-level. A lot of people are not aware that they sabotage their own results, and it's the old programming. It can be somebody could have been brought up in a household where they're told constantly over and over again that money is the root of all evil. Wealthy people are not trustworthy. And as an adult, they know that that's not true. But the programming, the subconscious programming, the non-analytical part of the mind, it will keep sabotaging it in the background. It's been likened in psychology to a 3-year-old child. So, spinach is good for you, but if you try and get a 3-year-old to eat spinach, most of them will throw up on the table and squeal and shout. And that's the way the submind works. So if it has a program where money will cause you misery, it will make you a negative person. That individual will also sabotage getting ahead or gaining wealth when they're older, until the program is taken out and broken down. Beliefs are only beliefs until they're questioned.
Right.
When you question a belief, because it's a feeling, and it's a very powerful feeling, and it's so powerful, the American government give $5 billion research money to 6 professors of medicine to study the placebo. How can people believe in a cure, which, in a lot of cases, it's a sugar tablet, or somebody going to a holy shrine somewhere in a foreign country and being cured of an incurable disease? And it's quite fascinating that the results are coming up with, especially with one of the surgeons in Houston, Texas. So beliefs have to be there. Again, there's processes to find out, is the belief in there. One of the probably a daily one that most you would see with a lot of people, especially here where we live, if you give somebody a compliment, they feel uncomfortable. You can't accept it. And that's coming from their self-esteem. A lot of people don't feel they believe that they're worth praise, and they'll laugh it off or change it in some way. But it's the feeling, the uncomfortable feeling, that's where the beliefs are coming from. You go into, and I've done it in the past, in different universities, different colleges, and ask, a local school here, and a lot of the kids, they were first year, 12-year-olds, a lot of them spoke fluent Gaelic. They grew up in the home, and some of them spoke French and German. And I said, hands up in the class. It was all first years coming in on the day. I said, hands up, who believes you could go into medicine or law when you leave school? I think I got one hand the whole day. And it's not that they weren't clever enough or they couldn't get the education. It was a belief installed by their external environment. Nobody in the home, probably nobody in the area was into medicine or law. I asked the same question at a course I took for young golfers in Lisburn, and about 80% of the hands went up. Same age, probably not as clever as a lot of these other kids. The belief, yeah, why not? My mom's a solicitor, my dad's a doctor. No, what's a big deal? The belief, the feeling is installed there. And that's, if you can change somebody's belief, you change their whole direction in life. That's when a program becomes life-changing, because you change their perception, you change the feelings, and the internal barriers are gone that cause the procrastination. If somebody's not doing something in life, why not? They feel they shouldn't do it or they can't do it. If somebody's doing something and they're in flow state, why? It just feels normal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Feelings. That's all a belief is. It's a feeling.
Yeah. So so the self-sabotage can be partly put down to, the lack of belief is environmental in part, because if people around you don't believe you can do it because they don't believe it can be done themselves, it's like a generational thing. And as you say, if at the golf club, at the guys in the golf, they're conditioned, I suppose, in way to go, well, why can't we do it? Or there is no barrier, there's no ceiling, whereas somebody else, as you say, has been conditioned by others,
Yep.
or maybe the people around them.
Roger Bannister, great, and there's been many from him. The 4-minute mile, people thought you would die if you ran a mile in 4 minutes. Your heart would explode, your lungs would collapse.
Some of us would.
He done it, 200 students done it, and then the 2 years followed.
Yeah.
Because the perception, the feeling, once it's questioned, they say a belief is like a tabletop. So the way to take the legs away is to question it. You believe. People are always building belief systems. If you went to, say you went the first time to, you were speaking about Jamaica earlier. If you went to Jamaica the first time on holiday, and the first 5 people you met sort of brushed you aside or were very ignorant to you, didn't like you, you could leave there having a perception, a belief for years and years to come that everybody from Jamaica are ignorant people and they don't like foreigners, until you're introduced to more people from there who are very nice to you and they do a lot of things for you. And then you start to question that belief. It's like even in the workplace, companies, it was an engineering company I worked in, and a lot of the guys believed that the managers were all out to get them. The managers were different. It's them and us. And even that they were bringing me in to make them work harder. And they all sat like this, we're not going to listen. So these are global beliefs in certain areas that people build as well. So the only way to change a belief is to question it. If you believe that you are going to be a certain way the rest of your life, unless you question that and analyze it, you will always be the way you are. Beliefs, they're not real things. You can't put it in a wheelbarrow and wheel it up. It's not a real thing. It's a feeling, and feelings can be changed. So that's one thing to remember.
And Sean, another question. I've actually got a question here. Can you recommend any good reading material or audiobooks on building self-belief?
Yeah. Read your own autobiography. Sit down and write down. Imagine you're writing a letter to somebody in a foreign country. Tell them where you were born, all about your parents, what they were good at, what you were good at, the values that you took on board, what you achieved in primary school and secondary school, in your career, and read that. Forget about other people. Self-belief comes from you. It's not about people motivating you. All these motivational speakers get you in a hall and they get you up and pumped. What happens when you leave? This has to be consistent. This has to be a feeling that's there all the time. Self-belief comes from the self. Who are you? If you're leaving that perception up to me and everybody else out there, you're in a dangerous place, because in reality, some people will have rapport with us. Some people won't like us. That's just life. Okay. So you have to get to a position in life where if you like me, that's good. If you don't like me, sorry, you have to deal with that, because I like me and I can't be everything for everybody. And that's when you become comfortable. And that's what we call having an internal self-esteem. External self-esteem is looking acceptance from everybody else. And it's stressful and it's dangerous, especially in our youth, if you have children.
If you're in the work environment though, Sean, if you're a leader, if you're let's say a manager, and organizations are looking at organizational development, they're looking at personal development, bringing in personal development, looking at developing up maybe their next line managers, maybe their next the more senior people, put them through programs, etc. I'm curious to understand then, let's say the the effect that, you know, if I go on a personal development journey, then, and I'm managing people, I'm communicating with people.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to understand then how that then can be, how does it resonate out? How does it impact on people around you, in terms of, you know, because you say it's very personal and it's, but again, trying to understand then that how does that kind of benefit your peers or the people that report to you or that you have influence on?
Well, when you know how you work, you have a good idea how other people work, because you'll have the process. And a very important part is understanding the different personalities. We've spoken about this before, because then you begin to, we tend to think everybody should be like us and like things that we like. And we have rapport with people who are like us and no rapport with people who don't have the same personality. But you begin to understand, you know what? There's a lot of personalities, and this person is who they are due to their background, their experiences. So you have to respect that. So it's that knowledge will carry out into, so there won't be the criticism, there's more the curiosity. Even if somebody is being very annoying or very angry or very ignorant, instead of just bringing up the anger or the resentment, you will be thinking to yourself, I wonder why they behave like that. I wonder where they learned that irrational behavior. Was it from their parents? Was it an experience? So that's looking at it from an adult's perspective, from your analytical mind, rather than, you know, just not liking them, not getting on. And then there's this, when they go into the workplace, you get this clashing all the time.
Another question I have here, Sean, is how do individuals know when they need help or they need coaching or guidance? Or, you know, are there any common triggers? I suppose I'm taking this one to mean, you know, where at what point do you kind of know when to get to know yourself? Or, you know, I suppose it's like if somebody is hitting rock bottom or things are looking gloomy or they're looking difficult or whatever the case may be. Is there anything are there common triggers in terms of people maybe reaching out to somebody like yourself or similar type of people to start that journey of self-knowledge?
It's a bit like the dentist. How do you know when you need to go to the dentist?
Right. Okay.
No, it's feelings. Some people are just not happy, or some people just feel that there's more to give and they don't know how to give it, or there's more to bring out from themselves. So it starts with feelings. People, you know, we should feel content. Happiness comes and goes. It's like confidence and motivation, but you should feel comfortable and safe all the time. You should feel content at something that, you know, comfortable in your own skin. Okay. Again, look, anxiety, discomfort. Some people believe that that's just life and that's how they're supposed to feel. They felt that way for so long, they don't know anything else. They're always angry, or they're always suffering anxiety, and they've just got so used to popping a pill that they've done nothing about it. And that's sad. You know, where there are other avenues that they can take to leave that behind. But again, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Any other questions, guys? I'm just looking to see if anybody else has got anything that they want answered or any thoughts that they want to share with us on the chat box. Most of them, they must be stunned into silence, Sean, with the quality of the information that you've given. Sorry, just one question has just popped up here, actually. Is self-knowledge the same as self-awareness? I don't know if that is the same.
Self-knowledge is that journey, that study. Self-awareness has to be there all the time, being intuitively aware of your feelings, of your thought patterns, of your behavior. The self-knowledge is something that's built on. It usually comes from your past and present. self-awareness is something that has to be carried through then for the rest of your life. You should always be intuitively aware, even our energy levels. Like, as you know, I do a lot of mountain walking and exercise. I've done absolutely nothing all this week because my energy just seemed to dip. It was very low. So I'm very aware of that. So I've just rested up all week. I've been practicing just my breathing, my meditation, some very light walking. But my body is telling me, Sean, I need to work on something here. So don't be wasting that energy running about mountains and stuff. So it's having that intuitive awareness again of yourself, you know.
And just on that, Sean, I just a question that's come into my head is that, you know, with the pandemic, and I'm putting everything in the context of the last year, because obviously it has heightened a lot of anxieties and has put us into, you know, working from home, at home working, homeschooling, and all of that. And everybody's been kind of in the same, well, we haven't been in the same boat. I think that's probably fair to say that, but we've been in an unusual sort of circumstances. But you know, is there a I suppose a value? Let's say you're worried about your mortgage, you're worried about maybe your kids, you're worried about your job, or you have lost your job or whatever. Is there a way of having graduated into kind of the let's say the self-knowledge piece? Because, you know, what I'm saying is that, let's say somebody realizes that they need to change, but obviously maybe there's something that they feel they can't change today, but they can change gradually over the next number of months. Is there as a takeaway maybe for people today, is there anything that you would say, you know, when you talk about processes, is there any way, you know, that there are, as you call the mouse steps, that people can take over the next little while to maybe lessen some of the anxieties and maybe make the change at 5-degree angles rather than 180 all in one go?
Yeah, well, change, we adapt to change. We're all here because we've adapted to change our whole life. Our body changes, your level of consciousness, your education changes, your friends change. So life is about change, constant change, emotions, the seasons. But yet when it's thrown upon us, when we don't plan it, we tend to become confused and stressed about it. So remind yourself you're a master of change, or you wouldn't be here if you weren't. We've mastered change. So it's back to, okay, can I deal with this? Hold on. Who am I? Have I dealt with change before? Have I dealt with hardship? Yes, you have, or you would not be here. So let's get back to the most important thing I've said today. And if you're wise, you will do it, is sit down and write that letter. Who am I? Just sit there, because it's a personal letter. Nobody's going to see it. But you need to look at that letter every day, especially when you're feeling lost or confused. You need to sit down and read that again. Better still, get a journal, and that's in your first page. I could show you my journals. I have them years. Every time I get a new one, that's the first page. Because when you're not doing that, you're open to suggestions verbally and non-verbally from your environment and those around you. And then things become confused again. The pandemic, everybody was in it. You can do nothing about it. It's here. You know, hopefully we're coming out of it. So what good came out of it? Because there has been good things came out of it. You can list probably more bad things, but if you can look at 2 or 3 or maybe 4 good things that came out of it for you personally and focus on them, it's going to change how you feel. As I keep going back to it, why does somebody want something in life? Because they believe it'll make them feel better. So start, you know, become an expert at changing how you feel, because that's all anybody wants anyway.
Yeah,
want to feel better.
That's great advice. And the fact you mentioned the journal actually preempted a question that was coming in about using a journal as a way of tracking progress. So yeah, very perceptive and excellent advice. Great, Sean. Look, I'm conscious of time, guys. So if anybody has any final question, please feel free. If there's no further questions, we'll wrap it up and just say to Sean, many thanks. It's been a really, really interesting thought-provoking 45 minutes, Sean. You know, I know you probably could go on all day and have plenty of different advices for people, and that's why we're delighted to have you, because obviously given the breadth of experience and knowledge that you have, and I think it's been very useful. I find it personally very useful, I have to say, every time I talk to you, just in terms of some of the very practical pieces that you advice that you give. So I hope everybody has found something as a takeaway. We will be putting a recording of this particular webinar on our YouTube channel. So and we'll send out an email as well to all the participants, so that you can actually you can watch the recording, or you can take snippets, or if there's anything that you need, if there's any information, or if there's any questions that you haven't thought of today that you want on a personal basis, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to give you the answers, more than happy to engage with you beyond this, to help you with the journey of self-discovery, because that's what we're here for as well. So really many thanks, Sean. Thank you to everybody who has taken the time to be on the webinar, and I hope to have the rest of your day goes really well. The sun is just drifting behind the clouds here, so I hope that's not going to be for the rest of the day, and we can get out and have a walk out in the sunshine. So thank you very much, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, everybody. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.